We are here this morning on the matters of Hubbell-Gider. There are several things that we are here on. We don't have our garden item yet. I'll go ahead and.
She's here.
Okay. I'll go ahead. Oh, I see her at the door. All right, I'll go ahead and call the case, and then.
Can I talk to you before we start the case? I have some questions and that I just.
Yeah, let me get everybody who's here first, and what we're here, and how we're going to proceed, and then I'll.
That's kind of what I want.
Okay. All right. We have with us today Miss Charlena Mack. I apologize, Miss Mack, who is the guardian ad litem for the child, Miss Gider. We have Miss Lydia Hubbell, who is the mother, and she is not represented today. We have Mr. Simon Gider, who is the father, represented by Miss Sarah Rice, is with us today. We have Casa. All right, Casa. Miss Mitchell's not here, but tell me your name again.
Trisha Reynolds.
Say it again.
Trisha Reynolds.
Trisha Reynolds. All right.
Reynolds on her way.
Okay, thank you. All right. We also have.
This is Mallory Mayer. She's an intern.
Okay.
She's in her third year at law school.
Wonderful. All right, and then on this side I have, ma'am, your name is?
Karen Shearer.
Karen Shearer. All right. And your relationship on the case?
Friend.
My witness. She's my witness.
Okay. All right, next I have.
Kathy McGee,
All right, and your relationship on the case as well?
friend, whatever. I don't know the right
She's
term.
my witness. She's a friend.
Okay. And then I also have
Kimberly Sletzer.
Kimberly Sletzer. Okay.
SCHLETZER.
Yeah, I wasn't getting that.
Yeah.
Wasn't close at all. And then your relationship on the case as well?
I'm a school psychologist.
School psychologist. All right. All right, let me get all those who are going to testify in these matters to please stand and raise your right hands. That would include you, Ms. Hubbell, and you may eventually, Ms. Reynolds, testify when we get you sworn in as well.
Do all the parties swear the testimony that you are going to get to this court is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
All right. Is the rule requested?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. What that means is we have a rule of sequestration that witnesses cannot be in the courtroom while other witnesses are testifying. So if I can ask the three on the front row, Ms. Reynolds, you are a party, so you're allowed to stay. If you all can have a seat out in the hallway. While you're in the hallway, while you're out in the hallway, please don't discuss anything about what your testimony is going to be or what's going on in the courtroom. We'll call you each in one at a time. Thank you.
If I may, I just want to come up and I wanted to ask Mom if she could kind of slide
Make some room for
so
you.
I can get a little corner over here.
Absolutely.
I'm
sorry.
just monopolizing the whole courtroom. I didn't know what I was going to need, so I brought everything but the kitchen sink. I think this is mostly what I'm going to work from here. You can sit right next to me if you want to. So you have a leg room?
Yes. All right. For the record, we have several matters that we are here on, and there have been several things that have gone back and forth. But I will tell you what is listed, and then we will go and figure out what goes first and second and third and all that stuff. We are here on the original petition, which is petition number 191027. That is the petition to establish parenting plan and deny mother's request to homeschool the child. That was filed on behalf of the father on May the 20th, 2014.
And Your Honor, that petition has actually been set aside. That was set aside after the original hearing on homeschooling in hopes that we'd be able to kind of figure some things out. Since then, Father has filed a second petition to establish parenting plan.
Okay, and that one is 202082.
Check on that. actually don't have the petition number on
Okay.
my copy.
That was filed February the 24th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
I
that
have-
one is 202082.
I have another witness on the way.
Okay, that's fine.
Can
When
I
they
go
get
out and
here.
tell them how to get here?
No, no, when they get here, we'll tell them where to
Oh, okay,
be.
okay. And my son is, got strep throat and a sore throat, but I think I can make it till 11:30 before I have to pick him up.
Okay. All right. Oh, well, I think that's it then.
Well,
I think the first petition is technically mother's answer and counter complaint filed in response to father's original petition. And in that counter complaint is when she is requesting to homeschool the child and for sole decision making. That has already been heard by the magistrate, and that's what's now being appealed. So I think
Okay.
that's the first issue, I believe.
it is.
But
Okay.
we've been assuming mother would be proceeding first on that. We've also then filed the petition for contempt for failure to follow orders from the magistrate. And then father has also filed the petition to modify the parenting plan. So I think, if I'm correct, that those are the three separate things we're here
Can we
on.
go back over that one more time, Your Honor? Sorry.
My understanding is that the first matter is mother's answer and counter complaint, which was filed in response to father's first petition, which has since been set aside.
Okay, that's also the 191027 is the number
Yes,
on that one
yes,
as well.
right.
And so that is her counter complaint.
Yes, Your Honor. And that was what went in front of Magistrate Robertson, which is now being appealed by the mother.
Okay,
So that was the first thing to kind of bring the case up here.
okay.
We then had also filed a petition for contempt, which was petition number AC 19985.
And that one is not listed on our docket.
It is not, it is not. And the concern that I have, Your Honor, if it is a petition for contempt, if it's what it's alleging, I did not get a copy of that, if it's what it's asking, if it's asking for civil contempt or criminal contempt. That therein lies a concern that I have is in regards to the mother being appointed counsel to represent her in the petition for contempt.
Correct.
And it is civil contempt.
Okay.
Except it was asking for me to have jail time.
It was?
I'm sorry?
I'm
You
sorry.
were asking for me to have jail time, like 6 months for every count, 8 counts.
That's a potential consequence of civil contempt.
Which in lies my next concern, Your Honor. Mr. Barlow is in the building. We just left from downstairs, so if there's a need to try to contact him and see if he can
Well, Your
try to
Honor,
handle that, but we can set that matter off for another day.
That's
Why
what I
don't we,
was thinking.
we'll set that out for another day if there is a request for incarceration, even if it is civil. I do think she has a right to have an attorney, and we'll,
If we do set that off, if you wouldn't mind, if there's a way to hear it in front of Robertson, since it was his order that she is in contempt of.
absolutely, that, it should go in front of, if
Okay.
if not been a hearing on that one, that should go in front of Robertson. I thought these Robertsons, I thought for whatever reason they were Rosenberg.
They were originally, he was sick on the day of the trial, so Robertson sat special.
Okay.
So, yeah. Rosenberg was the original motion
But
to
Robertson
deny
was the one that-
homeschooling. Robertson was the trial.
And
Yes.
Robertson's the one to put the order in.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the contempt petition will be reset, and I'll get y'all a date on one of Magistrate Robertson's appearance dockets for
Okay.
the contempt case.
What does that mean for the guardian ad litem and the contempt? I've never had that situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna appoint you on that as well.
Okay.
All right, and then finally, we do have the new petition, which is the 202082.
Yes.
All right, so Ms. Hubbell, let me explain to you the process and what is expected. On the original petition of 191027, you filed a answer and a counter petition, and within you're asking for,
I'm asking for sole decision-making, guardian ad litem fees, right to be, all my rights restored, homeschooling and free speech rights, and discussions with the child. We already took the co-parenting class, and he paid for it, so that was those are the only things I was.
Okay, so as the petitioner, it is your burden of proof to show to me that there is a material change in the circumstances in regard to the child, so that there would need to be a change in the custodial arrangement, and that it would be in the best interest of the child for that change to occur.
If I may clarify, Your Honor, there has never actually been a parenting plan put in place. So I think we would be doing
wow.
under the factors standard.
Okay.
And Your Honor, based upon what I have reviewed, my concern is that they had an informal parenting agreement, and thus both petitions would be a material change. But again, because they're basically asking for, he's asking to be primary residential parent, she's asking to be primary residential parent, and both of them would represent a material change, because even though they didn't put it in a formal writing, it was an agreement down lower.
I think the statute would contemplate that it actually be a formal written plan.
There's
Parenting plan
no
does that.
issue, so it's been this long.
Okay, so we'll start off afresh. So this will be
Okay,
a initial parenting custody order, that parenting order plan, and the mother I will make a decision based on comparative fitness of the parties as according to the statute 366106. What that means, Ms. Hubbell, you would have the right, or you have the responsibility of showing, I'll read it to you, 366106.
I've read it. I've read all of
Okay.
it. I've read all of it, and I've read in their petition, they put what, their point of view, and
Okay.
I didn't submit my point of view in my answer to their petition because it's upset me so much to read what they said, but I did write it up. I'll refer to it during the proceedings.
All right, well, what we will do is we will start out, since this is technically your petition. You are the petitioner. I will ask you if you have an opening statement. You'd like to make a very brief statement.
Your Honor, I believe there are a few preliminary issues, if I may, very
Okay.
quickly. First, Delara, the child, has been listed on the witness list. We would like to object to that. She's 6 years old. We think it's inappropriate for her to come and know.
All right,
I just wonder on there, just in case, the guardian, because, the guardian ad litem had spent a significant amount of time with,
just respond to your,
I just want her just in case. I put her on there. I don't plan on bringing her, but I want her just in case.
All right, and Ms.
Your Honor, Delara is 6.5 years old, a very happy child, and I believe that I can articulate the desires of Delara, but I also can articulate what's in Delara's best interest. She wants to see the court and let the court know what she wants, but she's 6.5 years old, so I would not, due to the credibility of her age, any testimony that she would present would be valuable to the court, other than how much she loves both her mommy and daddy.
Okay,
So-
I will grant that request, and because of her age, I don't like to bring in children at a young age. I do think 6.5 is fairly young, and now that she has a guardian ad litem, her interests are being advocated for,
I'm
and
fine
she
with
also
that.
has a CASA volunteer as well. So
Okay.
I think her requests will be known.
The next issue would be one of our potential witnesses is Icy. Am I pronouncing that?
My sister, yes.
His
I
sister, who is living in Virginia, just had a baby about a month ago. We would ask that she be allowed to testify telephonically if the court would permit that.
Within today and tomorrow, I seriously doubt we would get to father's proof.
I think it'll be on the 15th of May.
Okay, so she still wouldn't not be a ability to travel at that point?
She could if she has to. I think it would just be inconvenient for her to travel with such
Okay.
a young baby.
All right, do you have an objection to that?
I don't think she has. I'd like to know, make an offer of proof of what she even has that would be relevant
They
testimony.
have the right to bring whatever testimonies whatever
Okay,
witnesses they.
well, that's
Now,
fine
if it's-
if they want to do that.
All right, so you don't have any objection for her testifying by the phone?
No.
All right, Ms. Mack.
Your Honor, I've never met her, and I haven't had the privilege of speaking with her as of, but again, if I have the opportunity to speak with her, which I will, I would have no objection.
Okay, all right.
That means I can cross-examine her, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's
Every
just like
witness
she's
is-
sitting here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
All right.
Next, we would ask that the court, we would move that the court specifically remind the mother that there's an order in place that she is not to be speaking negatively about the father on social media, especially while this trial is going on. We would just ask that the court reiterate that that is a current existing order of the court.
All right, well, I can make sure all parties at the end of this hearing as well as tomorrow, make sure that they're all following all court orders.
And I believe the last thing is the father would be willing to make certain admissions in hopes of limiting some of the testimony and proof that's required, specifically as to the possible benefit that homeschooling can offer children.
Okay, so he's willing to concede
That
homeschooling
can be a positive thing for some children and has its definite benefits in certain situations.
Okay. Anything else?
The last thing is there is a psychiatrist that has been meeting with both of the parties, Heidi McKinney. I have spoken with her and she has
Excuse
asked.
me, Your Honor, she's not a psychiatrist. She's a licensed family therapist.
There's a licensed family therapist, Your Honor. I've spoken with her and she has requested to not be called as a witness because she believes it would interfere with the therapy relationship she has between the parties. She has submitted a letter of what her recommendations are. I told her that I would see whether the court would allow that as.
I would object to that because it's hearsay, and I haven't even seen it. So
All right.
I object to that being submitted.
I told her I'd ask. Okay, I'll call her as a witness. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Any other preliminary issues?
Yes, Your Honor, and in regards to, I know there's an order in regards to derogatory remarks and comments on Facebook. As for Delara going forward, I would just request that the court order the parents to no longer discuss this case or issues with the finances in the case with Delara and their inability to do anything in regards to that, just because she is 6.5 years old and a minor child, because we want her to not choose between her parents, but again, not that added stress and pressure from what parents are telling her about the process and what mommy and daddy is doing. So just no derogatory remarks and no discussion about the case going forward. Not talking about what's happened in the past, but going forward, no discussion about the financial situations or anything that's causing this
I
process.
can do that.
Thank you.
I'll do that at the end when I do a general announcement about all issues. All right, you have some preliminary issues as
I
well?
have some preliminary issues.
Okay.
Number one, referring to, we do actually have when Delara was first born, her Sanan's father hired an attorney and wrote up, there's an agreed order in there.
Is it signed by a judge?
It is signed by Magistrate Rosenberg. That's what's been in place this whole time. And we didn't exactly follow it at first. It's just something that he likes to keep things flexible. I like to keep things flexible. And that parenting schedule where you like switch every other weekend or do this or do that, it looks like a nightmare to me. But you said we'll do the parenting plan later, right? We don't need to worry about that later. But I just wanted to call your attention that
Well, that would be what the whole thing
Do you have to do that when the parents weren't married and they're not going through a divorce?
it's not required by statute, but it is something that
Might be a good idea.
is very beneficial, and it's probably something that will be added to the local rules of this court.
Well, I don't like it's just so complicated and it gives people more, I think it would give us more reason for conflict to have something very specific, because the only thing we've gone to court with.
I would be, if it gets more contentious than what we are now, I'd be surprised. And I think the more you have something that's in writing, but
Okay.
that would be a decision I make at the end of the hearing.
Okay, well, they did refer to that agreed order in the original petition that they filed, and this parenting plan, the schedule we had in place, that I worked really hard I mean, it's kind of complicated, but it's worked for our family very well, all three of us. Okay, the other thing is, when we were here April 7th, you flip-flopped our temporary parenting plan, our schedule around, and my daughter's miserable with it, and none of us like it, but it was only supposed to be in place till the trial, so I don't know if that meant till the trial begins or till the trial ends. She keeps asking me when
Okay,
we go
you
back.
can't tell me what she's saying.
Okay.
That's against the rules, because that's hearsay. And
I
that
thought
would be
if they were
against,
under 13 years old, it wasn't hearsay.
it's hearsay.
Okay,
Unless
all right,
it's
well,
about abuse and neglect. Regardless, any statement that she made is hearsay. There's
Okay.
only an exception under 13
Okay.
if it's about abuse and or neglect.
I get, I can't get a law degree in, a year. But I would like to go back, because she keeps asking me when can we go back to their schedule. I'd like to go back today.
Your Honor.
I'm sorry.
That would be an issue that we would talk about later. Let me
Later,
go ahead and,
what? Later?
Probably by the time we finish around
Today?
11:15
Today?
today. Yes.
Okay, all right, the other thing was, stipulating, what did you say, you didn't say stipulating, you said agree to save time?
Our admissions.
Okay, I would like for us to agree that Delara, regardless of what happens today, Delara will remain enrolled in Cole Elementary School till the end of the school year.
These are decisions after I hear all of the information, or do y'all agree with that?
Yeah, until the end of
Until
this
the
year,
end of
that's
the school
fine.
year, that's
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
there's an
want-
agreement that all parties agree that she will remain in her current school until the end of the school year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
I'd like to agree that my house is messy, tends to be messy. I'm a messy person, their burden is to show that it puts Delara in danger or at risk, I guess. But I admitted this in my answer. I'm messy. I admitted this in court. I'm messy. I admitted in court. My basement, we don't use our basement because it's so cluttered. I admitted in court that.
Okay, so mom
we've
is
got rooms-
conceding that her house is very messy.
And
Alright.
we mostly, I've got a copy of, I found this in an appraisal, I think. She keeps asking me about the layout of my home, and I found this, and this is a layout of my home. And
Your Honor, and respectfully, so I hate to object to the relevance of this at this point in time. Is this a matter that is going to be argued during the trial?
well, this is so you don't have to argue this part of it, because you know the layout of my home, and these two rooms right here.
Is there any
roughly-
objection for this being into pre-trial?
No, I mean, I think we still would argue the home is beyond messy, so I don't know that this will necessarily.
That's fine, but as far as the layout of the home,
Any objection for the layout of the home being admitted at this time, whether it's relevant or not?
because I could explain to you better that we use these two rooms upstairs, and we don't, Delara's room is.
I got you.
Okay,
I will have testified to it later, but
Okay.
any objection at this point?
None, Your Honor.
All right, that will be marked as exhibit number 1.
Okay, so this is exhibit, what, did it have a number on it?
Number 1.
Okay. What about our exhibits that I did? Do I have to make exhibits again
Yes,
and make
we are
file
starting
folders?
all afresh.
Oh. What if I don't have copies of, well, there's copies in there. Can you pull like the copies
Okay,
that
we'll
are?
get to it when it's time.
Okay, this is exhibit 1. And I'm sorry, you have to keep me on track.
I know.
I won't be mad at you, or you won't, I hope you don't get
We're
mad at me.
good.
Okay, the last thing was, I want to stipulate, which I've done in my answers. Did you have a chance to read my answers?
I have read
today?
through some of it. Didn't read it line by line, but I skimmed through it.
But you didn't read what we're talking about today, the answer to the homeschooling.
I have reviewed most, if not all of it, but I have reviewed it.
Okay, the last thing I want to stipulate to is, I've admitted in there, I have been perfectly transparent about everything. My house is a mess. I've been on disability for 12 or 13 years. I currently have physical health issues. I have had past very serious mental health issues with depression. I've been 12 or 14 years ago, 14, 15, I'm not sure what year it is, but I'm stable now, and they can prove that I'm not stable. If they want to try to do that, that's their job. But my testimony will be that I'm stable now. But I want to all to agree, I have a history of mental health issues, anxiety, depression, that sort of thing. So can we agree to that I've got that past history? Y'all don't have to ask me a gazillion questions about. You can ask what you want to, how it's relevant. But I'm just saying that. And I've been on disability, I've got past mental health problems, and I've got current physical health problems, and my house is messy.
Okay, great. All right, let me go back on a previous ruling that I made about the burden of proof. I do find that the order that was signed back in October 30th, 1st of 2008 by Magistrate Rosenberg would qualify as a custody order with it was not a spelled out parenting plan, but it did spell out time between the parties. So I do think that the mother now has the burden of proving that there would be a material change of the circumstances and that it would be in the best interest of the child for that.
So in this,
Now, however, I will say this, as a court, I believe that a parenting plan is appropriate in all, if not all cases, in most cases. And that would be something that the court can do regardless of what the decision making is. But she has the burden of proving that there's a material change of the circumstance and that it was in the best interest of the parties to change, specifically that they enjoy joint custody, with the father has 180 days per year of parenting time and the mother has 185 days of parenting plan a year.
Oh, wait.
so rather than the factor test, it will be a material change of.
Well, if she makes the burden of a material change of circumstances, then in order to do the best interest, I do have to use the factor test.
Okay.
So she has to prove first that there's a material change of circumstances, and then secondly that it would be in the best interest. And when I look at best interest, I would look at the factors enumerated in 36-6106.
So, to be clear, material change of circumstances based upon both petitions.
We will.
Correct.
Okay, because the father has a petition asking that he be the primary residential parent as well. So,
And the parties may already agree that there's a material change of circumstances in the fact that the parenting plan that they have or lack of parenting plan they have is not working for the party. So if we can agree to that, then we can move on to best interest.
We're willing to stipulate that there's been a material change.
Woo!
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All right. So,
I have one more thing.
whoa. So let me get this on the record. On the record, all parties, including the mother, the father through his attorney, as well as the guardian ad litem, are admitting that there is a material change in the circumstances in the life of the child, in that the parenting schedule as ordered in 2008 is no longer working for the parties.
I think
Therefore, there is a need to
She's not clear,
readdress.
Your Honor.
Okay.
She's not clear.
well, the only thing that I'm saying, well, if you have to read the whole thing, I'm just going to show that the physical custody, well, that's the other thing I want to stipulate. He is a very good father. He's got a very good relationship with Delora. I've never done anything to interfere with them. I do everything I can to support that relationship. I wanted to go on record as saying he is very good. He works real hard. He's very good with spending money on Delora, giving extra money over and above his child support. He's helped me with car repairs. He's loaned me money for property taxes. He repaired my air conditioner. He's loaned me money for car repairs. He's bought her zoo passes and Venture Science Center passes, and he's very good. He's very generous with his money, and I think that's one way he shows love for Delora. I don't want to take any time.
I'm going way far from where we started.
Okay, all right.
So let me focus you. Are you in agreement that there's a material change in the circumstance in the life of the child, in that the current order from 2008 is no longer working?
The only part that's not working is the legal custody and the joint decision making. That's the only part I'm saying doesn't not work anymore.
But regardless, you believe that there's a material change in circumstances.
Yes.
So there's not an agreement as to what the material change is, but everybody agrees that there's a material change in circumstances. So we can move on to the best.
Okay.
So I guess Ms. Rice and Ms. Mack, one of you all will eventually have to do the order. So we will make sure you get that language correct.
Okay.
So that there's an agreement that there is a material change in circumstances, not necessarily agreement as to what those material change in circumstances are, but there are currently a need to, but there is a material change circumstance so that we can move forward to the best interest portion of the hearing. All right, so are you ready to do your open arm, or you still have some preliminary
No,
issues?
I just want to be clear on how we're doing this. We're just
Okay.
in here, we're not gonna change, nothing's gonna change in my daughter's, other than.
Unless we can finish the whole
Okay.
trial today, we
Well,
can change this
Okay,
stuff. but I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'm just gonna, today, I just want to show how the,
So is this your opening statement?
yeah, I think so.
Wonderful, all right.
I hope to show that joint custody isn't working and I need to be given sole decision-making authority. And he should pay the guardian ad litem fees. And I should have the option to homeschool my child if I feel like it's in the best interest because I'm the person who knows her best. And I'd also like to show how my interactions with my child and my discussions with the child are actually, contrary to what they say, that they're actually very beneficial and help foster my child's emotional development.
All
Do I have to
right.
tell you
Miss-
my witnesses or just, no? Okay.
All right, Ms. Rice, we should have an opening
We'll waive an
statement?
opening, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Mack, any opening?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, today we're here as into how these parents are going to parent Delora for the next 11 and a half years of her life. What the dynamics of that is going to look like. The proof will show that, yes, granted, Delora loves both her mother and her father. The proof will also show that the mother's home is beyond messy. The proof will also show that outside of that beyond messy, that the mother loves Delora, is very active with Delora, and it even has in the past tried to educate and provide enrichment services for Delora, that she has a strong support system within her church family. The proof will also show that Mr. Sinan is an excellent provider. So in essence, even though these parents live in two separate homes, Delora has the best of both worlds. However, the issue at the end of the day is whether or not Delora's mother's home is a risk to Delora and is causing detriment or harm to Delora. And it would be my understanding from everything that Delora is a happy, prospering young child who's very intelligent, who loves both of her parents. And at the end of the day, Your Honor, we would ask for the court to find that develop a plan that would cause Delora to be able to thrive in both homes.
All right, and call your first witness, Ms. Hubbell.
Okay. Also, about my testimony, I don't when do I get to do my testimony?
Whenever you choose. You can
Okay.
call your other witnesses first, or you can
Okay.
call
All right,
yourself
I'd like to
first.
call them so they can get back to their day.
Okay.
Call Kimberly Schletzer first.
You can stand there if you like, Ms. Hubbell. We have the podium usually is what is
Oh,
usually
okay,
used
that's
to make
easy, it's
questions.
not, don't get a prick in my neck. Ms. Schletzer, did you bring a copy of, you did, and I have a hard time questioning people, right?
That's okay. Let's just start with the basics. If you will tell us your name, please, for the record.
My name is Kimberly Slutzer.
All right. And Ms. Fletcher, what is it that you do?
I'm a school psychologist with Metro Nashville Public
All
Schools.
right. And do you know Ms. Hubbell-Gider? And how do you know her?
I assessed her over the summer.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Hubbell.
And did you write this report?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is a copy, you write a copy today?
It's my copy, yes.
Oh, okay, but, well, you can look at this and verify that this is, because I make photocopies for, I'll just look at that real quick and make sure. Are we supposed to hand that to her instead of me? Okay.
Did you make copies, or does everybody
There's one
already
in your
have the?
file. There's one in your file.
Miss
Everybody's
Rice, y'all have a
I'm
copy?
sure I do somewhere,
I-
but do you
I don't.
mind if
I get you one.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh.
Forward.
Okay, well,
Bye.
I have my copy.
my copy. Could you, why is it important that you meet with parents to present the results of the evaluation and the recommendations?
Okay, my evaluation results are always done through the process of special education, determining if a disability is present. When we do that, there are federal guidelines that require us to meet with parents to review the results and determine whether the child is eligible for special education services if a disability is present.
And did your findings show that there is a disability present?
The eligibility criteria, yes and no to that question. Yes, the child met the state criteria for intellectual giftedness. No, the child was not eligible for special education because as a team, we have to decide, is there adverse academic impact? Meaning, is general education services not able to meet her academic needs? Because when we did the assessment, she was not school age, she was a preschool, we considered her a preschool student, not a school age student. We had no data to support that general education services could not be offered. So we said she is not eligible for special education services at that time as a student with a disability. We did offer encore services, which are the gifted services that we in the Metro schools offer, and that is through general education.
And can you explain what Encore is as far as Delara's participation in it?
You
don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just send my results
Okay,
to the
okay, I
Encore
can-
office,
I can
and
explain that later.
that's,
Okay,
yeah. that's-
and can you go to the back of yours and explain us some of the recommendations that you have for meeting the needs of gifted children in the classroom?
Yes, the recommendations came from research-based, gifted, that's the best way to educate a child that is either gifted or academically talented. The best way to describe all of my recommendations would be to give like an example and incorporate all the different recommendations into that. So, for example, telescoping of the Common Core would be, they do a pretest to determine what the child knows and what the child doesn't know. Oh, thank you. To determine what the child knows and doesn't know. The teacher then analyzes that data to determine where do I need to teach and what do I not need to teach. I don't need to spend time working on things they already know, okay? And then from that information, the telescoping of a child that is academically talented or intellectually gifted is going to be very short and very condensed because they have the cognitive ability to reason, whereas some children don't, or it takes more time. And so then we're going to, from there, you're going to teach, the teacher is going to teach the lesson. In a case like this, we would ask the student to do more like work projects. So we would ask the child to, say the unit is on animals, we would ask the student to, okay, let's classify the different animals. Let's do aquatic animals and let's do land animals. Let's do a compare and contrast, a graphic organizer of sorts to determine how is the aquatic animal different from the land animal and how are they the same. And then using different modes of research to come up with that information. Then it's all specific to what the child chooses to want to do, but then they could present it to the class, they could have a storyboard behind them, and then maybe a culminating project would be go to the zoo and look at the difference between the aquatic animals and the land animals, and then write a short report, depending on their grade.
So that's an example.
Yes, and it incorporates all the different recommendations that are in there. That incorporates the discovery approaches, allowing students to use their reasoning to discover patterns. So you're comparing and contrasting, allowing for many choices in activities and projects, of course. It depends on what the activity or the project is. Involve student products with real problems presented to real audiences. Yes, we're going to present to, if it's a something on nutrition, sure, we'll go to the school cafeteria ladies and do a presentation to them. Focus on independence and student initiative, absolutely, this is not going to be something that is, this is above and beyond the core curriculum, so that it is student-led, which therefore focuses on number 18, focus on the teacher as an instructional manager facilitator. Babies this age don't know how to go from one step to the next, and helping the teacher would help guide them through that process. Community resources and resource persons, again, incorporating maybe going to the public library, going and looking at using the school library to get the resources that you need, or going to the zoo for in case of animals. And then at the end of your telescoping of the curriculum, you're going to do a post-test to determine whether it was what they know.
Or an assessment, if you like to assessment.
Objection.
All right.
You can't suggest the answer to her.
Oh, okay,
That's the
okay.
question.
And have you ever taught in a classroom?
No, ma'am.
So you don't have any ideas of how practical these suggestions are to teachers working with gifted children in a classroom setting?
I have an educational specialist degree in instruction curriculum. So
But you don't have the experience seeing how that actually works, meeting with.
not personally, but I've been involved.
Theoretically, this is what you're going.
I don't.
I think she's verified that she wrote this report, she evaluated Laura, and I don't have any more questions.
All right. Are you asking that the report be admitted into evidence?
Yes, definitely.
All right, is there any objection?
None, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All
And
right,
there-
we'll mark that as exhibit number 2 to today's hearing.
Oh, is it?
I already got one.
Okay, this was my copy. Okay.
All right, any cross-examination, Ms. Reese?
Yes, please, Your Honor. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to look through this here, and there are a lot of different parts, so I'm just gonna,
Totally, it's
I'm
fine.
trying to figure out what it all means. Okay, so it says all developmental milestones were reported to be within the normal limits.
Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean, developmental?
I'm looking at when she crawled, when she talked, when she walked. Were they all within age-appropriate limits?
Okay. Where were these observations done?
During the assessment setting,
What is the assessment setting?
in a school building, it was at Cole Elementary.
Okay. Is it in like a classroom or?
It was in an office, yeah, classroom type setting. It was over the summer, so it was a little bit, it was wherever I could find a space in a classroom, in a school building.
How long does the assessment last?
It depends, depends on the age of the child.
How long did this assessment last?
The first academic session, I would say, lasted maybe 30 minutes. And then the cognitive assessment lasted again about another 30 minutes. When we assess children that young, we have to do it fast.
Okay. And why is it that you have to do it fast?
We have to do it fast because most children's attention spans aren't going to allow us to go much faster.
Okay. Were there other children there at the time, or was it just
No,
Laura?
just one-on-one.
Okay. So this, on page 3, this Reynolds Intellectual Assessment Scale.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what that translates to in
Yeah.
real world?
Yes. It is a cognitive assessment looking at cognitive abilities. So when I look for cognitive abilities, I'm looking at their problem-solving abilities, using their words, and not using their words. So for the verbal intellectual index, that was a 100, standard score of 110, that's within the average range of intelligence. And then the nonverbal intelligence is, of course, problem-solving skills without using your words. And that was a 122, which is in the above average range as well.
Okay.
And that leads to the composite or full-scale IQ of a 118 in the above average range.
And I'm sorry, tell me again what the verbal intelligence index is?
Problem-solving, using your words.
Okay,
So tell me about a cat,
gotcha.
that kind of stuff.
And then these subtests, the T-score.
Yes. T-scores, anything between 40 and 60 is within the average range for a T-score, and it directly correlates to standard scores. The guess what is going to be, I give her 2 to 4 clues and ask how the object or concept is being described. So I would say things like, I am round and I bounce. What am I? And it gets harder.
The ball.
It's hard, exactly. You got it
I
right.
got it.
The next one that goes into the verbal intelligence is verbal reasoning. So again, this would be 1 or 2 words that complete an idea or a proposition. So, what would be an example? Dog is to run as fish is to swim. And it gets harder, of course.
Okay.
Those are just examples.
Okay.
For the nonverbal intelligence, we do odd item out, and this is pictures, and it starts out pretty easy, but it's cat, 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 dog, which one does not belong. It gets harder, there's things like transportation on there, but it's transportation with wheels. But you have to be able to process through all of that to know, to get it right. So what's missing is pictures, and there is literally something missing. In the beginning, it starts off with a face, and there's not missing. I mean, it's very obvious, but it gets harder.
Okay. And then this academic functioning portion on
Yes.
page 5.
Yes.
I guess it kind of lays out what that is there. Obviously, she did very well in
She
those
did very, very
areas.
well.
Okay, and then the creativity characteristics of gifted. Am I reading correctly that this is measured by a current teacher that is already?
Yes.
Okay. So for the T-scores on those, what is the average
It's
range?
again 40 to 60 is within the average range.
Okay.
So 70 and above would be superior.
And then where it says she received a score of 8 and needed a minimum score of 16.
Okay, yes. That is part of, and you guys are more than welcome to make a copy. This is the assessment grid that we use when we determine eligibility for gifted.
Can they get it? Okay,
And the observation checklist, the creativity thinking checklist, and then the observation checklist plus, that's on 2 sides. Those are all state created protocols that we use to determine, and it's scored, and then we plug it into that matrix to determine if there are scores or points awarded.
So I'm sorry, when it says she needed a minimum score of 16, for what? What would have happened if she got a minimum score of 16?
She would have received 10 points. When you
Okay.
see that matrix, it'll make more
Okay.
sense. I'm sorry. When you see
Okay.
the matrix, it'll make more sense.
All right.
Everything is awarded points.
Okay.
And she did not receive points for the state checklist. So I gave her a nationally normed creative thinking checklist, and that's where she came up as where she earned the most amount of points.
And why did she not receive the points for the state checklist?
One was it was the difference between the teacher doing it and the parent.
Okay. And was there a significant difference from when the teacher did it and the parent did it? What was that difference?
The teacher rated her as having no points in creativity,
And what did the parent rate?
30 points in creativity, maximum points for creativity.
Okay. All right, I think those are my only questions.
All right, Ms. Mackey. Any objection to the grid being introduced into evidence? I can make it a supplement to the report or make it a separate, I prefer just to take.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's a blank document.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the grid. I will attach it to the previous exhibit number 2.
I need you to pronounce your name for me so I don't.
Sletzer.
Good morning, Ms. Sletzer. My name is Attorney Mack, and I am the government item for Delara. In your, you testified earlier, how many days did this process take with evaluating Delara?
2 101, 3 to 4 with the scoring of the documents and report writing analysis of the score.
Okay, so each of those days you assessed Delara where?
At Cole Elementary School.
At Cole Elementary School. And how did Delara seem to be interacting while she was there at school?
Oh, she was fine. She was extremely talkative. Wanted to just tell me everything.
Okay.
I'm
And-
gonna say she gets, never mind.
Okay.
I was gonna guess who she got to talking it from, but I'll let that go. That's probably not appropriate.
And when you say fine, what do you define as fine?
Help me understand what you're looking
When you say fine means, you said she's happy, she liked school, did it seem like she?
She was very comfortable in the setting, and it was summertime, so schools are not, I mean, we're in the middle of cleaning and moving furniture, so it's not, but she seemed totally fine with the environment. She was totally fine with the environment.
So, when you did that, in your evaluation, you kind of get a history from the parents. Did you get a history from both parents or just from mom?
Just from mom.
Okay, so when you talked about earlier about the parents' rates, when mom rated a 30 and the teacher rated 0 in creativity, that's just directly coming from the mother. Does that seem unrealistic that a mom would rate her child as creative at a 30?
No, it's realistic.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Now, in your evaluation of Delara, you said it was during the summer. Is it normal school time? Is she interacting with other children in the classroom, or is it just she's just coming there for the evaluation?
Correct.
You testified earlier it's because she was at the preschool age.
Correct.
Is that because Delara didn't start elementary school until this current year?
Correct.
Okay, and when you evaluated Delara, was your purpose only to determine if she was gifted or not, or so she could enter school? What was the purpose of it?
Only for determining if a disability is present for the purposes of special education.
Okay, and who contacted, do you recall who contacted you to make that determination?
I was given the case file from psychology department in special education.
So you don't know who requested that Delara be tested for that?
Mother.
Okay.
Mother's the one that completed the paperwork.
Okay.
Is that answering your
Yes, it
question?
is. Yes, it is. And in your evaluation process, is there a time frame that you have to complete the evaluation process? What is that time frame?
From date of initial consent, I have 60 school calendar days to complete that assessment.
Okay, and so at any point, did you ever contact the father within those 60 days to get any input from him?
No, ma'am.
Where you provided his information to make communication?
Other than name, no.
Okay, did he try to contact you and you missed his call, or to your knowledge? Okay, so with that being said, your history from Delara, her educational history, you are aware that she attended Primrose?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have communication with the Primrose teachers there?
That was the gifted rating skills.
Right, and so in that, did you have any concerns for the social emotional piece with Delara in your evaluation process? Did you, and when I say social emotional piece, did you see any stressors on Delara about her home life? Or basically how she was going back and forth at that time? You wouldn't have known that, I don't think. But you didn't see anything that would bring any concern with her home life at all?
No.
Okay, and she presented herself to be clean and healthy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's talk about your interaction with the mother. How often did you interact with the mother?
From point of initial
Yes, ma'am.
contact, phone calls were made, to set up the evaluations. And then mom would bring the child into the school to meet me, and then I would assess the child, mom would be in the hallway.
Okay.
After assessing the child, I would call the parent back in, give some just my testing observations of the student's behavior, not giving, sometimes in certain situations, and I do not know for this situation, I've assessed many, many children since then. In some instances, I would go ahead and immediately score the evaluation and give the parents those results, or I would wait and call the parent on the phone.
You gave your assessment observations as Dr. Laura presented herself on page 3 of the document, presented herself as very mature. Can you define for the court what mature means to you?
Mature is when I'm working with a child, I'm looking for, when I ask a question, do they give me a one-word response? If they do, okay, that tells me how I need to interact with the child. If the child, or in the case of Delara, she would go on and on and on about whatever topic she was interested in. So I knew she was extremely verbal and needed, so I didn't have to ask her any questions when I got a whole lot of information.
Okay, and so that's where it goes when she was at ease and in confidence.
Oh, yes.
That level of confidence. Now, can you tell me, in your assessment, when you work with a child, if there's a need for further services for any social emotional needs, do you make a recommendation out of that?
Absolutely.
And in this case, you didn't do that for Delara, did you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, that would be all my questions.
All right. Ms. Hubbell, do you have any further questions for Ms.?
I just have one.
Okay.
Did the father attend the IEP meeting? Was he invited?
All right. Anything, Ms. Rice?
Yes, Your Honor. You said that he was invited, but you also said that you never reached out to him. Is that correct?
The address that I had was a Bart Avenue address.
Okay. And so that was mother's address?
That was the address I was given.
Okay. For the social emotional piece, what kind of questions do you ask? Is there a separate test that's given to ask questions about home life and social emotional?
Yes, and I did not have permission for those.
Did mother limit what questions you had permission, or who was the one in charge of deciding which questions you had permission to ask?
I'm not understanding.
You said you didn't have permission. What do you mean you didn't have permission?
Okay, I am, there's a difference between establishing rapport with a child and assessing social emotional needs. You can tell through establishing rapport with the child if there are social emotional needs. Whether I can assess for it, I have to have consent.
Okay.
Does that clarify?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Mack?
Yes, there is. I'm sorry. And just so I'm clear.
Yes.
Just- Let me be clear. You're saying that in establishing rapport with the child, you can assess whether or not there's a need to go to further evaluation for social emotional needs?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so in your establishment of rapport, did you determine there was a need to go any further into the social emotional needs?
There was no need.
So when you state that you didn't have permission to go into that, what does that mean?
That means doing rating scales.
Okay,
Doing official rating scales for social emotional needs.
so that doesn't mean that mom said, you can't ask her about her social emotional life or anything like that? Okay, I just wanted to, okay, I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you, Norm.
All right. All right. Ms. Schleicher, thank you for your testimony here today. You are more than welcome to remain in the courtroom. If you like, if you need to go back to work, you're more than, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today. All right, your next witness?
Is it Todd Missing?
I'm sorry? Yeah. He heard you, I didn't.
Thank you. Raise your right hand, sir. Say that you swear the testimony that you're about to give to this court is gonna be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
May I have a seat?
This is my brother.
All right. I'll ask you the opening questions, sir. If you will state your name for the record, please.
My name is Todd Music.
Todd Music.
M-I-S-S-S.
M-I-S-S-S.
Okay. And Mr. Messick, how do you know Hubbell-Gider?
I do.
And how do you know her?
She's my niece.
Okay. All right. And you go ahead and ask me questions.
Okay, do you see Delora on a regular basis? Do you
Yep.
consider yourself to be actively involved in her life?
Somewhat.
How often, how far away do you live from my house?
5 or 6 months.
And do you have, let's see, I'm asking these kind of questions. What are your observations about Delora as far as her, her well-being since she's been in my care?
I think she's well taken care of and nurtured very well.
And do you have any, or what, how do you, I'm trying to ask him if he feels like I am
Objection.
competent to make decisions regarding Delora's business.
I would object to, that's not within his realm of expertise.
Oh, do you have, role of expertise? Based on your personal observations, you've already said she's well taken care of. and nurtured.
Objection, leading.
I'll give her a little leeway on that one. Let's see where the question's going from there.
I don't even know where the question's going from there.
Okay.
That might be all I need to ask him.
Okay. No other questions?
If I redirect, I can, if
Okay.
they bring up something I can redirect, right?
You
Okay,
can.
that'll-
All right.
that'll help.
Ms. Rice, any questions?
Yes.
All right.
Good morning, Mr. Messick.
Good morning.
My name is Sarah Rice. You stated that you are somewhat actively involved in Delora's life.
Mhm.
How many times per week do you typically see Delora?
I don't see her weekly.
Okay, how
I
many
would
times?
say maybe a couple times a month I'll see her.
Where do these visits usually occur?
At my house.
When was the last time there was a visit at Ms. Hubbell's house?
At Miss Hubbell's house. Last time I visited there, it's been a few months.
Where do the visits at Ms. Hubbell's house typically occur?
If I stop by, I usually don't go in the house. Usually outside at her house.
And why do you not go in the house?
Usually I'm just stopping by briefly or just don't want to go in.
Why do you not want to go in?
There's just no need for me to go in the house, usually when I go by.
When you said that the last visit at her house was a few months ago, how long was that visit?
Probably just a few minutes.
What do you do during these visits?
Just stop by, say hello, maybe bug Delara for a little bit.
When was the last time you actually went into Ms. Hubbell's house for a visit?
Can't remember.
He answered the question.
I
But she's
can
objecting.
say exactly.
She's trying to object for
Oh,
asked and
okay.
answered. I will overrule the objection. I think that's a different kind of question. But go ahead.
Last time I went in the house, maybe 6 months ago. couldn't exactly say.
Do you remember what the state of the house was at the time?
It was messy.
What do you mean by messy?
Just shoveled. I don't know, it's hard to say. Just a little state of disorder, I would say.
How long have you been going to visits at Miss Hubbell's home?
How long? Since she's lived there.
And has the state of the home changed during that time?
Yeah, sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. I mean, that's really all I can say.
To your knowledge, has Miss Hubbell gotten any kind of cleaning service for the home?
No.
Are you familiar with Miss Hubbell's history of mental health issues?
Not really. I mean, I understand that she's had mental health issues and she's seen a psychiatrist, but that's really all I know. I don't know any details about that.
Were you present for any, to your knowledge, has Miss Hubbell ever threatened to physically harm herself?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of. So you've never been present in any instances when she has?
Your Honor, and my objection would be to that lay some foundation in there. There's no foundation as to a time frame of when these.
If you feel like a little foundation.
You said that you know she's had a history of mental health issues. To your knowledge, what are those mental health issues?
I don't know what her issues are. I know she's seen a psychiatrist. That's really, I don't know details as to why she's going or anything like that.
Have you ever observed any of the mental health issues?
No, not really. I mean, I've seen her get stressed out, just like anybody else, but I've never seen any episodes, I would say.
What happens when you've seen her get stressed out?
I don't know. I've seen her cry, just get upset, get emotional.
What kind of things have you seen her get stressed out about?
Issues with Delara, custody things.
Were those recent?
Fairly recent. I mean, within the last year.
Prior to the past year, have you seen any kind of issues with her mental health? Is that a no?
No.
You said that you're aware she's seeing a psychiatrist. How long have you been aware she's been seeing a psychiatrist?
I don't know exactly. At least a year.
To your knowledge, has she ever been hospitalized for any mental health issues?
I think you were.
If you don't remember, you can say you don't remember.
Objection, Your Honor.
She's right. You can't ask her, but if you don't remember. You don't remember.
I don't really recall. I don't remember.
You said that you think she has. What makes you think she has?
She, it seems like something went on when she was going through a divorce.
You say something went on when she was going through a divorce. What do you mean?
I think there were custody issues with the kids.
And to your knowledge, how was that manifested in the mental health realm?
In the mental health realm, I really remember exactly what happened, but it was another emotional, stressful time for her. That's really all I could say.
Not to be blunt, but it seems like you would remember if your sister was hospitalized for mental health.
Your Honor, objection, argumentative.
I'll sustain it.
What was the time frame that the divorce was going on?
I think it was late 90s.
And what about what was going on during the divorce made you think that she was potentially hospitalized?
Your Honor, and at this time, I don't object to the relevance. If it was the late 90s, Laura was not born during that time, Your Honor.
I'm gonna allow it. I think the state of mind, and she already admitted to some mental health issues. I think it is relevant to today's.
You asked the question again.
What about what was going on during the divorce made you think that yes, she was hospitalized?
She just had some emotional issues with, I think she lost custody.
Your Honor, and I'm going to object to because the cause of speculation at this point in time. He said, I think.
Yeah, if you don't know for sure, you can just say.
I do not know for sure.
So
But
to your knowledge, she has not been hospitalized since that time.
to my knowledge, yes.
Has she ever made any indication to you that she would hurt herself?
No.
Have you ever had to watch the child after she has made an indication to someone else that she would hurt herself?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. Any other questions?
All right. And cross-examination, Ms. Mack.
Good morning, Mr. Missick. My name is Charlene Mack, and I'm the guardian at lining for your niece, Delara. I'm going to ask you some very direct questions, and I need for you to be clear when you answer these questions,
Okay.
okay? Have you been around Delara since she was born?
Yes.
Okay, when you talk about sometimes that you see Delara, you're not in her life every day, you're basically saying you're the typical uncle that you hang out with Delara every now and then, but it's not a daily thing.
Correct.
So earlier when you were testifying about your sister, you've known your sister pretty much all your life, correct?
Right.
And a brother would typically know if his sister is something that's off keister with his sister, correct?
Correct.
And you know that there's something off keister with your sister regarding her home, correct?
Yes.
And you're concerned about that, correct?
Correct.
Have you addressed that issue with your sister?
Yes.
How'd that go for you?
When you talk to somebody about their home, it's up to them to do, what they think needs to be done. I mean, you can give them your opinion, but and that's what I've done. I can't do anything about the state of her house, obviously, but
Okay,
I have an issue.
all right, so we're gonna take the state of her house in her relationship with Delara, okay?
Okay.
Have you seen Delara interact with her mother?
Yes.
And did you have any concerns for Delara's safety, even though you knew Delara was going back into that home?
No.
Did Delara ever stink or smell like anything, or
No.
was she ever dirty and filthy?
No.
Was Delara ever injured in that home, to your knowledge?
No.
Okay, so when you were asked earlier about, do you have any concerns with your sister's mental health? When you say you don't know what they really are, it's because you haven't never had that conversation with your sister, have you?
No.
But you do know something's wrong.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have children?
No.
And so when we talk about what do you believe it's safe for Delara, you really don't know what that kind of means for a child, do you?
What's safe for a child?
Yes.
I would think I would know to a degree, yeah, what is safe for a child.
So do you agree or disagree that the condition of your sister's home that has been like this 6 months ago, and the reason why you won't go into her home is concerning for the safety of Delara.
Objection, Your Honor. He never said that that was why he wouldn't go into my home.
And I didn't.
I'll overrule objection. I think he can answer that question. She didn't say that. I don't think she asked him.
I'm not concerned for her over the stay at home, if that's what you're asking.
You're not concerned for what?
I'm not concerned for Delara's safety in the house.
So why don't you go in the house?
It's just more of a personal thing with me.
So are you telling this court, remember I asked you some very direct questions, and I need for you to be clear and truthful to the court. Are you telling me that you're okay with Delara going in the house, but you're not okay with going in the house?
I'm okay with going in the house. I mean, I would go in the house, and it's not like I refuse to go in the house. It's just most of the time I don't.
Your sister for how many years?
For 45 years.
Okay. Now let's talk about, and I know that seems a little frustrating for me to ask you those questions, but that's kind of like the monkey in the room. Because the court kind of wants to hear the truth, and you're her brother, correct?
Right, yes.
So we don't want you to pacify this, because she's admitted that her house is quite messy.
Yes,
Okay?
yeah.
Okay, so at the end of the day, let's go into what you know about your sister and her activities with Delara.
Okay.
How active is your sister with her daughter?
Very active.
What does very active mean? What does she do?
When she has Delara, she spends all her time with Delara and doing things with her.
Tell me about some of those things that you know, firsthand knowledge that you've seen, not what someone has told you or what you've heard, what you've seen your sister do with her daughter.
She takes her to the library, takes her to the park, takes her to the zoo, takes her to birthday parties, and she's taking her to school events.
And these are things that you've seen for yourself that she's
Yeah.
done. Okay, let's talk about the birthday parties. How many birthday parties have you been to for Delara?
Just a couple for family.
Okay, what family?
For me. For me, my nephew and my aunt.
Okay. So is that what Delara's birthday parties look like, just adults?
The ones that I've been to.
The ones that you've been to, just adult parties?
I think she's been to, friends of hers.
Okay.
So, I mean, I hear Lydia say I'm gonna take Delara to a birthday party. I haven't been to the party, but I'm sure she took her to a birthday party.
Okay, have you been to any parties where both mom and dad of Delara were there?
No.
Never? Have you been to anything where both mom and dad were present?
Yeah, we went to dinner once,
Okay, once, how long ago?
3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
I think we went to just a restaurant.
Okay, and was Delara there?
Yeah.
And how did that go?
It went well. There were no issues.
No arguing, no?
No.
Okay. And Delara hasn't reported to you that, anyway, that she was in any harm in her father's home or her mother's home, correct?
No.
Okay. And when you see your niece, she's happy to see you?
Yeah.
Okay. When you talk about, you said, my colleague asked you, what was the condition of the home? And you said messy and disheveled. A state of disorder is how you defined it. How long, just to be clear, you talked about a divorce that occurred, and strike that, Your Honor. You talked about a divorce that occurred where your sister was emotionally distraught, sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And you were concerned for her then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was her house disheveled at that time?
This is a different place.
Okay, but again, was her home disheveled at that time?
It probably was. I mean, somewhat.
Okay.
It's been a long time ago, but
And during that time, there are actually 2 children that resulted from that marriage, correct?
right.
And you have a relationship with your niece and nephew?
Yes.
Okay, and were they living in that home at some point as well?
Yes.
Okay. And you still have a relationship with them?
I do.
Okay. They still visit with their mother, to your knowledge?
Yeah.
And you've seen them with their mother?
Yes.
Okay. So is it your testimony that, pretty much in the past 10, 15 or odd more years, your sister's home has pretty much been messy and disheveled? So let's go
That's
back,
correct.
so let's go back to, October of 2008. And just wanna be clear, even though you said the past 15 years. 2008, let's go to that. Delara was born,
Okay.
okay? Was your sister's home messy and disheveled then?
It was, cleaner when the baby was born. I think it's been a long time.
What does cleaner look like?
Just, things were, it was more order, things were put away.
And let's go in there. Delara was a year old.
Mhm.
You visited the home when Delara was a year old?
Yeah.
Okay, was the home messy and disheveled in 2009?
At
Let's just
times,
be honest.
yeah, at times it was.
Okay, did you do, Delara's third birthday party? Did you do anything with her when she was 3?
I probably did. I can't remember
Okay.
exactly.
To your knowledge, was the home messy and disheveled then?
It probably was.
Okay. And when you say birthday parties and certain events that you guys have done together with Delara, have there ever been any birthday parties in Delara's home with her mom?
There may have been one, when she was younger.
Your uncle, remember I said about being direct? Your uncle, you know Delara's very active, correct?
Right.
And you know that in that home, it's kind of constricted for Delara to be very active. But isn't it true that Delara spends very little time in that home?
Yeah, I would say that's probably accurate.
Okay. To your knowledge, has Delara said, I don't want to go home?
No,
To mommy or to daddy, has she?
no, I've never heard that.
She loves both of her parents.
Yes,
And her needs, to your knowledge, are being met in both homes.
yes,
And prior to 2014, to your knowledge, the parents were working together, correct?
that's correct.
You said prior to last year, and I just want to clear some things up at this point. Prior to last year, you had not seen any issues with your sister's mental health. But you have seen issues with her home.
Right.
But you haven't seen her acting erratically and snatching up Delara or yelling and screaming at Delara, is that correct?
That's correct.
And when Delara is around you, your sister is taking care of her hygiene,
Yes.
she seems to be well kept
She
and
is
happy and functioning?
She is welcome, yes.
Okay. So outside, when we talk about mental health, the condition of the home, would that be concerning to you again, as a mental health issue, sir?
The condition of her home is a mental health issue?
Your Honor, I object to that. He's not qualified to make a connection there.
And Your Honor, and the purpose for me asking that question is not about, are you a mental health expert? It's just, as a fact witness from what you see, would it concern you that your sister may be under some stress or high anxieties or different things going on, just based upon your own personal views of your sister?
Do I think she's going through stress? Now? Yes, it's stressful.
Okay. And we talked about you not knowing if your sister has been hospitalized. She's your sister. How often do you talk to her?
Couple times a week, probably.
And you're telling this court you don't remember any time since Delara's been born
No,
of her being in the hospital.
Not to my knowledge, she has not been in the hospital.
Not for her physical health, not for her mental health?
She's been in the hospital for issues, yeah,
Okay,
physical issues.
physical issues,
Yeah.
what was she hospitalized for?
Um,
To your knowledge, not that you saw her medical records, to your knowledge, when you went to the hospital to see your sister?
she had bleeding issues,
Okay,
and, I think she had some surgery.
okay. So where was Delara during that time when your sister was in the hospital?
She's with Sam.
Okay. So your sister has never called you because she's having a crisis or an episode for you to watch
No,
Delara?
No.
But every time, to your knowledge, that she's been in the hospital, she's been with Mr. Gider?
to my knowledge.
Okay. Now, as we go into that health issue, do you know of any health issues that your sister has that prevents her from being able to care for the needs of Delara?
No.
Have you seen her outside playing with Delara?
Yeah.
Have you seen her in other events interacting and walking and, or running with Delara?
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm asking. yes
I've
or
seen
no?
her, yeah, outside, doing things with Laura,
Okay,
park.
okay. Have you ever seen her educate Delara?
Yes.
In what capacity?
In what capacity?
Mhm.
She's shown her, she's very involved in her, teaching her reading, write, just general education stuff when she was a toddler.
Since she was a toddler?
Yeah,
You've witnessed your sister teaching Delara how to read and write?
yeah.
Okay. What kinds of things did you witness your sister doing with your daughter? I mean, with her daughter?
Just word association cards.
Uh-huh.
She would actually read children's books
Okay.
out loud.
Does Delara read to your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. We talked about earlier, and you heard me make that objection as to the divorce being in the late 90s is what you testified as, correct?
Correct.
And the judge said based upon her state of mind, it shows her state of mind during that time. During that time, were the Department of Children's Services involved with anything, any abuse to the children in any way?
No.
To your knowledge? And you would have known, because you're her brother who talks to her several times a week.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Have you ever offered, and I'm not meaning this to be offensive, but it may sound like that. Have you ever offered to help your sister clean her house?
Yes.
And what has she said?
I think she needs to, I don't know exactly what she has said to me, but, she doesn't want any help
Okay.
cleaning up her house.
So is it your testimony the sister has denied your assistance?
Yes.
Now let's go into your sister and her hygiene. You would know if your sister was not well kept in that area, wouldn't you?
Mhm.
Has she ever appeared unclean and unsanitary at any point to you?
No.
Okay. Your Honor, that would be all my questions for this
All right, any further redirect?
I'm sorry, one other question, Your Honor, I do apologize. Mr. Todd, just based upon what you know about Delara, was the prior plan, to your knowledge, seem to be working for Delara?
Yes, I think so.
So the joint decision-making, you're familiar with that,
Yes.
where they had to work together?
Yes.
Did it seem to be working to your knowledge?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any redirect?
Is there Not late nineties, early 2000s.
I live in Antioch.
And where did that
I live in Calloway.
go? And how far away is that from here?
45 miles.
And how often did you see me or talk to me then compared to now?
Well, I don't remember exactly.
Okay. Do you remember what surgery I had and how long it took? Since
I
last.
think your surgery was, I don't know what surgery you had. It's outpatient surgery, I believe.
So there wasn't actually a extended hospitalization?
No.
Let's see. Do you find Laura to be a high energy child?
Yes.
Do you find it more rewarding to spend time with her outside rather than inside?
Outside.
Okay, I think that's all.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mizik, how often do you talk to Ms. Hubbell about her physical health concerns?
About her physical health concerns. I don't know that I've ever specifically talked to her about it. I know that sometimes she'll mention she's been sick or she's not feeling well, and she says, it's probably been a few months since she said something about fibromyalgia issues.
To your knowledge, what health issues does your sister have?
Fibromyalgia is something I believe that she has. But beyond that, I don't really know.
How often do you talk to your sister about the state of her mental health?
I don't think I ever talked to her about the state of her mental health.
You said that you believe Delara is an active child, is that right?
Correct.
And then earlier you kind of laughed at the idea of Lydia running. Does that mean that she's not active?
No. I don't think Lydia would run. Unless she had to run after the child. But she's active with her.
And what makes you think she's active with her?
She spends a lot of time with her outside. She'll go to the zoo or maybe to a park. So she spends some time outside.
Were you with her at the zoo or the park, or have you
I
been at
have
these
been
things?
before.
Okay. And while she's at these places, have you noticed her physical health impairing the amount of activity she can do?
No.
You have not noticed that? You said that you think the plan that was in place was working, is that correct?
Yes.
And what is that plan?
I believe they have joint custody of Delara.
Can you specify a little bit more about what that plan was, to your knowledge?
No, not really.
So you believe it was working, but you don't know what it was?
I don't know exactly what the terms of the custody is. As far as I know, they have joint custody of Delara.
And what about it made you think it was working?
They seem to get along okay. I don't think there were any issues with Delara spending time with Sinan or Lydia. So I think it seemed like everything went smoothly as far as custody of the child is.
And to your knowledge, is it still going smoothly?
I don't think it is. I think there's issues with homeschooling. But beyond that, I really couldn't say.
Does Lydia talk to you about her communication with Sinan?
Sometimes she can't get in touch with her.
And does she ever indicate to you how she attempts to communicate with Sinan?
Cell phone, telephone, texting.
Has she ever told you that he's frustrated with how much she tries to communicate with him?
She may have mentioned that.
How do you communicate with Lydia?
Telephone, usually, or I'll text her.
And how often do the two of you talk on the phone?
Times a week.
Have there been instances when Lydia has not been able to get in touch with you?
I don't think so.
So you wouldn't know how she reacts when she can't get in touch with somebody?
She has had me call Sinan when she couldn't get in touch with him.
And why did she do that?
To see if he'd answer his phone for me.
Do you remember what it was she was trying to communicate with him about?
I don't.
Do you remember at the time you thought it was an emergency?
I don't think it was an emergency.
And do you remember how long ago that was?
In the last 6 months, I'd say.
So in that time frame, when you're saying you think that they did start to have some issues?
Yeah.
And prior to this past year, you were not aware of any communication issues between the two of them?
Well, I don't know if I could say that. It seems like they've always had difficulty communicating, but I don't know if that means not being able to get in touch or just not agreeing on things.
Does Lydia talk to you about her emotional feelings for Sinan?
No, not really.
Have you noticed any kind of shift in the way Lydia talks about Sinan to you?
Not really. She's frustrated.
So then is it your testimony she's always been frustrated?
I think she's always been frustrated to a degree.
Because a minute ago you said things were fine for a while, but now she's always been frustrated.
Well, fine in the way the custody has been.
The custody, you said you don't know what it was.
Well, in the way that they were maintaining custody, I think they had joint custody, meaning half the time Lydia had her and half the time Sinan had her. So,
Have you witnessed, how close were you with your sister when she went through her divorce?
how close was I? As close as I am now.
And how close is that?
We're fairly close. Like I said, I talk to her regularly.
But you don't talk about her mental health issues.
No.
You don't know what her physical health issues are.
I don't know if she has any physical health issues other than the fibromyalgia, which I mentioned.
You don't know what the communication is like, has been like between her and Sinan.
I think that she's had some difficulty communicating with him, but I don't hear anything about how that's going unless she brings it up, and she doesn't bring it up to me that often.
You don't know what the parenting plan was.
I really don't know the specifics of that, no.
Have you had the opportunity to see your sister in any romantic relationships in the past several years?
No.
So you wouldn't know how she acts when she is romantically involved with someone.
Your Honor, I don't see the relevance of that.
Your Honor, a big part of our argument is that the way the communication breakdown has been because of past romantic interest and father's now lack of romantic interest.
All right, I'll allow it.
Ask me a question.
You said that you haven't had the chance to see her involved in any romantic relationship in the past few years.
Okay.
So then I said, so you wouldn't know how she acts typically when she's in a romantic relationship, is that correct?
Yes. That's true.
You've obviously known Lydia for your whole life. I would imagine that the two of you had some disagreements growing up.
Growing up. Oh, yeah.
How does Lydia act in a disagreement?
She's pretty headstrong.
What do you mean by that?
I think she wants to try to get her way. If you're in a disagreement with her, but I haven't had any kind of disagreements with Lydia lately.
When you say she's headstrong, how does that manifest itself?
It's hard to answer. I think she's persistent and she will try to I don't know if I can answer that. I'm just not sure how to describe it.
I understand she's your sister. You haven't been able to answer a lot of questions here. You can't tell me how she acts when the two of you are having a disagreement?
Well, I don't know that we have, we don't really have a lot of disagreements. If you're asking me about something that occurred when I was a kid, obviously it's going to be a different answer, but anytime somebody has an argument with someone else, it's going to be a battle of wills. And, I don't see that she's operating out, any differently than anyone else would. It's, in an argument with someone. I'm really not sure what you're asking me.
Has Lydia told you about any disagreements she's had with other people in the past few years?
Not really. No. Not that I can recall.
No further questions.
All right. All right, Ms. Mack.
Yeah. Mr. McKissick. Missick, I'm sorry, I have a McKissick and a Missick, sorry. Are you avoiding to make your sister look bad, sir?
Do what?
Are you avoiding the questions so you don't make your sister look bad?
I'm not trying to avoid any questions.
Okay, so the question is, you and your sister have a disagreement or a dispute. What does that look like? Does she want her way and she's gonna do whatever she can to get her way? Is that what you're telling this court today?
No.
Then what are you saying? What does the argument look like between the two of you?
He's saying he hadn't had one in so long he don't even know what it looked like.
We don't argue a lot.
Okay. Okay, so let's even go back to when I asked you, have you offered your sister to help her get her house together?
Yeah.
What did that look like when she denied it? Because you kind of skated around that one too. Did she tell you to kick rocks or what did she say?
Your Honor, he already asked, and that's already been asked and answered. She said.
It's a
she
different
said-
question. I'll let him
Well, he
answer.
said that I wanted to do it
Objection to
myself.
testifying.
So, when I offer to help, my impression is that she wants to take care of things herself and that she feels like she needs to take care of things herself. So, when someone...
Not when someone, I'm
Well,
asking
when
you when Lydia.
when Lydia needs to clean up her house, there are things that only she can,
You're
clean up.
answering a political question. I'm asking you, what did your sister say to you when you offered to clean her home? Or help
I
clean her
didn't
home?
offer to clean it for her.
Okay, then what did you offer?
Just help her clean it up.
Okay, and what was her response?
She doesn't want any help cleaning up her house.
Okay, so at that point, did she get upset with you for asking?
No.
Okay, so let's talk about, you talking about, you never heard your sister just vent on the issues with the custody case. You never heard her frustrated about not being able to communicate with Sanaa. Is that what you're telling this court?
No.
Okay, so then what does it look like when Lydia gets frustrated to her brother?
She may just vent her frustration, what she's frustrated about in this instance with the custody, with not being able to communicate, but she's really just telling me what's going on.
Okay, so has she ever threatened to do anything to Sanaa? Yes or no?
No.
Has she ever threatened to try to keep Delara from Sanaa?
No.
So the question at the end of the day, does she look angry when you see her? Because you keep saying it's the typical stuff that you see with someone else. Who are we comparing her to? The rest of the population or to Lydia?
I don't think she looks angry. I mean, she's frustrated.
Do you know about it? Do you have Facebook?
I do.
Okay, are you friends with your sister?
Yes.
Do you think some of the things that your sister is putting out there on Facebook seems to be like a frustrated person?
Yes.
Have you asked her to stop?
No.
Are you afraid of your sister's?
No. No, I'm not afraid of her. I haven't asked her to stop putting stuff on Facebook. I mean, why would I?
Do you think it's appropriate that she puts all of her custody business out there on Facebook?
I wouldn't personally do that.
So, but you don't say nothing to your sister, or not nothing. You don't say anything to your sister.
I haven't said anything to her about that.
Okay. So those instances where you pick up the phone and call Sanaa, because Lydia has in essence told you she can't reach Sanaa. Was it an emergency situation, yes or no?
No.
Okay. Did Sanaa pick up when you called?
Yes.
Okay. And how did he respond to your call at that point?
He was very nice.
Okay. So is it often that you have to call Sanaa for Lydia?
No.
How many times?
2 or 3.
In the past, what?
In the past year or so.
Past year or so. Does that mean 1 to 3 years or last 6 months to a year?
I'd say in the last 6 months to a year.
Okay. So you've had to call Sanaa maybe 3 times. When you call Sanaa for Lydia, he's nice. What do you talk about?
We don't talk.
So what do you tell Sanaa when you call
I
him?
just say Lydia's trying to get in touch with you.
And what does he say?
Okay.
And does that resolve the issue?
Yeah, well, like I said, that's as far as I know it does. And that's happened twice, maybe 3 times. I don't know.
You said there's been times where Delara has talked to you about when she can't get in touch with her daddy. Is that a lot? Where she can't reach her daddy?
Do what?
You testified earlier when my colleague, that sometimes Delara's talked to you about when she can't call her daddy or she can't reach him on the phone.
Objection, Your Honor. I think that's a misclassification. I think he said Lydia has.
Sorry, strike that.
I didn't say
I was
anything about
talking to
Delara.
Casa. I'm so sorry. I was talking to Casa. That's my fault. Strike that. You're right.
Okay.
Okay. So to your knowledge, Delara has free access to her daddy.
Yeah.
Can call him whenever she needs anything.
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with where Delara attends school?
I think so.
Have you ever
It's
been
called-
there?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever assisted Lydia with getting Delara back and forth to school at all, or
Yeah.
been to any school events there?
I have not.
Okay. Do you talk to Delara about school?
I try to.
And not based upon what Delara has told you, because it's not regarding any abuse. But does Delara seem to like going to school?
She didn't
Ms.
say a
Pamek,
lot
we're
about
going a little far
Okay,
off
I'm
from
sorry.
what Cross was.
I did, I'm sorry.
We got 2 witnesses I gotta get to before 11:30.
Can I do one more? Two more?
No, I'm gonna cut it off at that
Okay,
point.
okay,
He's told me all that he can.
Okay.
And I appreciate it, Mr. Missick, for your testimony. You're more than welcome to remain. We'll be here for about another 20 minutes, so you're welcome to leave. All right, thank you. Call your next witness.
I'd like to call Karen Shearer.
All right. Well, literally, we have about 20 minutes before I have to leave, so I'm not sure if one of them, if we'll get to both of them, if we need to tell one of them, we'll have to call back tomorrow.
Did you state your name?
Karen Shearer.
And what's your relation to me?
I am, I'm speaking to you or?
Speaking to me, she's asking questions, but you just
All right.
let me.
I
But you
am-
can look at her, whichever is more comfortable for you.
I am her friend. I go to church with her. And do you want me to say more than that?
No, she can ask you some more questions.
Did you,
All right.
is there anything else?
That's fine.
What do you know about my feelings towards Mr. Gider over the course of our relationships? Do you have, Laura, like as far as any desire I've had for a romantic relationship?
Objection, this would be hearsay. I don't think there's an exception because it's just backing up
Did she
her
just ask,
statements.
they asked my brother about romantic relationships I've had?
I don't think they asked about specific romantic relations. They asked specifically
General,
how you respond when you're something about your response. She can ask about
Okay.
her observations of you,
Okay. I was
but not
gonna-
specific information that
Okay.
you would have told her.
I'll just deal with that testimony myself and we'll let.
That's
Karen
correct. That's
go.
exactly
Okay.
how to do it.
Could you ask her questions, what you need to know, like you do the DCS lady?
I have,
I have trouble. Friends.
you asked,
She, okay.
and how do you know her? How do you know Abigail?
We worship together in the same church.
Okay.
And I teach Bible classes there, and I teach her in Bible class.
You teach Abigail or Lydia?
Abigail.
Okay, so you,
Well, I'm used to Delora, sorry.
Delora, I apologize. Everybody's saying Delora. I need to catch the good. So you teach
I
Delora.
teach her in Bible class.
Okay.
When my turn comes, it's not it's not ongoing, but, and then I also, have her in my home. I babysit her at times.
Your Honor, can I just stop questioning unless the guardian ad litem ask her questions?
Well, technically, no. What is it that you're trying to get out of Miss Shearer?
Whatever you need to know, that's,
And I
Why
would
did you
object-
Why did you want to call her for a witness?
because she knows me, she's seen me, she's seen.
Okay, so have you seen her interact with, and when you
Your Honor,
see them?
I would object to her asking the court to put on her case for her.
Yeah, you have to ask the
Okay,
questions.
okay. What have you personally observed about Dolores' socialization with other children that you've seen in the social and,
That's too complicated a question. Just
I do.
I know.
What can you say about, what have you personally observed about Dolores' interactions with other people and children?
Well, especially in my Bible class, she gets along with the other kids I've just not seen anything different out of her than any of the other kids I teach, except that she's a little more advanced than them when, in what she comprehends and what she, how she performs. She's been in my home with other children, she's been in home with my children, although mine are older. She does very well with them. I don't ever have any issues with her. I see her, I mean, we have get-togethers in our church group, and she plays just right along with all the other ones, and I don't ever think of her as any different as any of the other ones. And you bring her to those things, you are, Lydia, makes sure she's there for those things, and that she has that interaction with the kids, with the other kids, and she's a part. She is definitely a part of us.
And how long have you known me?
8 or 9 years.
And what have you observed, about my, the care I give to Laura, and the care I give to Laura and the decisions I make in her care?
I see you as a very caring mother. I see you as, it seems to me, to be a normal taking care of her, getting her where she needs to be. You spend lots of time with her. I know your interest in her educationally, and I know that, I know you work with her. I picked her up from school the other day, and I just asked her about her day.
Objection.
Oh, sorry.
You just can't tell me anybody said anything. Anybody's statements from, you can't tell me any statements that someone else made.
Oh.
But you're doing good.
Sorry.
You want to ask for another question? Because I think that was a good.
I think I'm done, and I'll do
Okay.
redirect if I redirect this.
All right.
You can
Any
ask
cross-examination?
you can Ask leading questions on redirect, right?
Not technically, no.
No?
Whenever you're directing, you always have to, whether it's redirect or not, you have to ask open-ended questions. But that you
And
did
Your Honor,
fine.
Your Honor, I, based upon the list, and I didn't know if we were gonna be finished today, and I did ask Ms. Shearer, would she, by subpoena, return on another day to, as a witness on my behalf for Delara. And so I just wanted to make sure she understands that she may have to come back.
Okay, we'll get to that. Just a second. Let's see if we can finish her first.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Rice, do you have any questions?
I don't have any cross based on that.
All right, do you have any questions, Ms.
Yes, sure.
Mack? All right.
Can I just stay on there?
You can.
Okay. All right. Ms. Shearer, am I saying it right? How long have you known Delara?
Since the day she was born.
Okay, were you there for that?
I went to the hospital to visit her
Okay.
when she was born. Yes.
I'm gonna talk to you about, ask you some questions about, my client's mother's home. Have you been there?
I have been to her yard, but not to her home.
Okay.
Not inside her home.
Why would you not go inside her home?
It wasn't that I wouldn't go inside. I think I just dropped something off.
Okay.
Something.
So,
She's usually at my house more.
okay, all right. She's
That's
usually,
just the way, I just always assumed that's just the way it was.
you said you've known her about 8 or 9 years, and you've never been to her home.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Isn't it true that you guys, your congregation, you guys come together often for different groups and different things that you guys do? Is that what you're talking about when you go, when you said they're coming to your home for those things?
Yes.
And with that being said, how many times a week are you seeing Delara?
Oh, I wouldn't say that I see her. You mean in my home?
Yes, ma'am.
It's
Or
not
even at
every
church?
week.
Even at church, how often?
I see her 3 times a week.
Okay.
Worship 3 times a week. And I can say that, that's not to say that there's not ever more times.
Okay.
But we worship 3 times a week, and so I know that they're pretty consistent, that I will see her 3 times.
And what's the duration of those 3 times a week?
An hour and a half,
Okay,
2 hours.
okay. So roughly about 6 hours a week you see Delara. And you talked about you babysit her sometimes. How often do you babysit her?
Just whenever she needs me, it's not a consistent thing.
How long does the babysitting last?
It just depends on how long she's gonna be.
What's the
there.
longest and the shortest that you've done?
I've probably done anywhere from like a half a day, like into the evening.
Uh-huh.
And maybe 2 or 3 hours, the
Okay.
shortest.
All right. And you talked about something about the education, her interest in education. Are you talking about the mother's interest in education or Delara's interest in education? Or both?
I was talking about hers whenever I said.
The mother's interest in her own education or Delara's
Oh, no,
education?
Dolores, yes.
Okay, and what are those interests that you know about?
I know that she's taught her to read. I see things that she sends me emails of things that she does with her creatively.
What do you mean emails of things that she does with her creatively? What are those things?
Oh dear.
I'll strike. Okay.
Something nature. I know she likes birds, she likes butterflies, and the things that she will do to teach her about nature, those
Okay.
types of things.
Okay. And when Delara was with her mother prior to the recent custody change pendente light situation, was Delara a regular attendant in church service?
Yes.
Okay. And what about those groups that you guys do? Would there also be for the children? Would you do something for the children during the week? Or is
You
it
mean
just?
the church groups?
Right, yes, ma'am.
Well, yeah, sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens. It's not a regular thing.
Okay. And what do you, and not going to,
Let me say,
okay,
most of our gatherings, all the children are included.
okay. And how is Delara when she interacts with the other children?
I think she's pretty typical.
Okay. And how long have you been the Bible class teacher for Delara? Or one of the Bible class teachers for
One
Delara?
of them. Ever since she's been in one.
Okay. And based upon your interaction, and you testified earlier that you're a mom, based upon your interaction as a mom, not as a Bible class teacher or whatever you do for a living, do you have any concerns with Delara's, did you have any concerns with Delara's well-being or any safety risks to her?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did Delara present herself healthy and clean and ready for church or school or whenever you interacted with her? In the moments when you would babysit Delara, was Delara clean and healthy? Did you have any concerns during those times?
No.
Okay. And let's talk about Miss Hubbell. Has Miss Hubbell ever presented herself in an erratic, frustrated behavior in your presence?
No.
Has she ever communicated to you any of her frustrations and anger towards the father in this matter? Not what she said, but has she ever communicated those things?
I think there's a frustration, or you mean, I think this whole court thing is a frustration.
Uh-huh.
It would be for anybody.
Uh-huh.
But generally, what I see is, or what I think I see is an effort to be fair and to include him
Okay.
in her life.
Okay. So, and you said you're a family friend for 8 to 9 years, and you're just a church member there? Is that all it is?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and a possible babysitter when needed?
Right. Objection.
I'll sustain that.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have you ever had the privilege of meeting Mr. Gider. I've been pronouncing the name wrong.
Gider.
Gider. Have you ever had the privilege of meeting Mr. Gider?
I met him when Delora was born.
Okay.
When she was born.
Okay.
And it was just high and by.
So he hasn't been to any of the events. Have you been to any birthday parties or anything for Delora?
I have not.
Okay. And you said you've seen Miss, she's taught her to read, and you know this by firsthand knowledge. You've seen Miss Lydia Hubbell teaching Delora how to read, or is this something someone has told you?
Well, actually, I haven't seen her give that instruction.
Okay.
She's read in my class. She reads for me. and-
Okay, but are you aware that Delora was actually in Primrose Academy? She was in school too.
Yes, but I think she was doing that before.
And in the mother's interaction between her and Delora in your presence, is it in your opinion the normal child-parent relationship?
Yes.
How does Delora behave in services? Is she bouncy, energetic, active, or is she sitting still?
Both,
Both? Okay.
yes.
You don't have to put her out or anything because she's
Right.
acting up. Okay. That would be all my questions, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
I'm going to get Miss Kathy in here under the wire if we can.
All right. All right.
I don't have
Thank
her-
you for your testimony, Ms. Shara. And why is it we're gonna need her back?
I don't know, because the questions that I was gonna ask her was gonna be direct.
We will
and I-
not need you back.
We don't.
You are welcome to stay in the courtroom if you'd like. You're free to leave if you need to. We're only gonna do about 10 more minutes.
She's right.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll bring her in and see if we can get that done in 10 minutes.
And Your Honor, I think that witness is under subpoena. She wasn't under subpoena. I think that witness is under subpoena, I believe, but.
The only witness I subpoenaed was the psychologist.
Okay. Wait a minute.
We can keep this under 10 minutes, please,
Yeah.
as best as possible. Not, she'll have to come back. All right, you have already been sworn. If you will tell me your name again for the record.
Kathy McGee.
All right, and Ms. McGee, do you know Abigail or Delora Gider?
I do.
And how do you know her?
Primarily from church.
Okay. And do you know her mother, Miss Lydia Hubbell?
I do.
All right, and how do you know her?
I know her through church, and we've been close friends for, because of church, but that's where I met her, but, that's the relationship, yes.
Okay. All right, from here, I'm going to let her ask the questions from here on out. That was just to
Okay.
establish the background.
What is your occupation?
I presently am a library clerk at 2 different elementary schools.
And what did you do previously to that?
And before that, I was a reading tutor. And then before that, I taught a year of algebra.
For how many years?
I tutored for 5, and I taught that 1 year. And,
Are you a licensed teacher?
I'm not a licensed teacher. I had an alternative certification for that year.
What do you know about my, what do you know about Delora as far as, what do you know about the care I give Delora? The care I give Delora, how, my
Well,
parenting
Oh, your parent,
skills.
okay. Well, you always have her at church, and she's a great Bible student. She's a good child in Bible class when I've had her in my class. Your parenting skills with her are, I'm not with you and her very often outside of church. Somebody has worked with her very well to bring her to a high level of understanding in academics and reading and that kind of thing. I haven't seen you personally do that, but I understand that you have done that, so I think you know, she's behaves very well at church. She sits there, with good behavior. And I know that you take her to many enrichment things and,
Objection on the basis of the knowledge.
I'll sustain that.
anyway, I haven't been with you. I know things that you have done. I'm just trying to think of what, I'm trying to answer this from my experience, and it's kind of hard to do that. But anyway, but I have been with you to the zoo, so that's, I know we've done that.
Okay, I think I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Cross-examination, Ms. Reese?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. McGee, did you testify at the first trial on this matter?
I have testified at a trial, yes.
On that date, do you recall if you said anything about how Lydia handles not being in control?
I don't remember that question, no.
How would you say that Lydia handles it if she's not in control
In control
of a situation?
of a situation. I don't know that I could, I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, I don't know.
Have you ever observed a situation where Lydia doesn't feel as though she is in control?
That's too vague of a question. I don't understand what, in control of what?
Ever, any situation?
Objection, Your Honor, that question is far too vague.
I'll sustain that. It's a little bit.
Okay. Do you remember stating that if Lydia is not in control, it will drive her over the edge?
I don't remember that.
Do you know what you might have been referencing, what situation you might have been referencing?
I don't remember that.
Okay. Have you seen Lydia get frustrated in regards to the homeschooling situation?
We have had conversations about the homeschool situation, and I know she's very adamant about wanting to give her that kind of an education. Now, ask me again what you want me to say.
Have you seen her become frustrated in regards to the homeschooling situation?
It's frustrating. I feel that she probably could be described as frustrated, that she feels very strongly that this is the best education for Delara, and she's being prevented from doing what she thinks is the absolute best thing for Delara. And I feel that she is frustrated by that. I could say yes to that.
How does she manifest this frustration?
How does she manifest it? Well, she just expressed that I've never seen her do anything. I don't know what, I mean, she has expressed to me that it's very much her desire to homeschool her. I haven't witnessed her demonstrating out on that I haven't seen that.
Have you ever witnessed her in a situation where she has become frustrated or upset?
She confides in me a lot, and I know that there are things that frustrate her, and that she is very adamant about, that I have not ever seen her act out in any kind of a negative way. I've not witnessed that. I can't put my mind around any time that that's happened in my presence.
So you haven't seen how she would react in a stressful situation then?
I guess I haven't been there.
Okay. Have you been in Ms. Hubbell's home?
I have.
How often do you go inside Ms. Hubbell's home?
Not often. That's not our relationship.
What is your relationship?
She usually occasionally she'll ask me to keep Delora, and she'll come to my house. I wouldn't do, and she's always dropped in my house, and she's come to my house to plant gardens, and she's helped me with all kinds of things like that, and we've had, you know, I don't know, we've just been friends like that. I mean, I'm a lot older than she is. She's got a brother that's younger than my children, so, you know, it's just, she usually comes to my house. She does a lot of things for me at my house, and over the years she has.
You said that she confides in you a lot. Does she confide in you at all about her relationship with her brother?
With her brother, not so much.
Has she ever told you if it was a strong relationship?
Actually, over the last, probably 10 years ago, we probably were on the phone a lot more when I wasn't employed so much or beyond. So we don't have the opportunity to chat like we used to. So of late, I've not had any conversations about her brother.
When you say of late, what does that
I
mean?
mean, like in the last 10 years, I haven't really had a conversation about her brother. I've met him a time or two, but I don't know him, and I don't know much about him.
So your testimony is in the past 10 years, she hasn't mentioned anything to you about.
Now, which brother, I mean, she's got a large family.
Todd.
Todd, okay. I have met him a couple times,
Okay.
and
And in the past 10 years, has she said anything to you about whether they have a strong relationship?
I think that, I know that he has been there for her for a lot of things. I think, you know, I know that,
How do you know that?
well, he has, I guess when Delora was born, I was in his company, wasn't, and, you know, and he told me that, you know, he felt like, you know, he needed to be available to help her with that situation, with, you know, a new baby and everything. And he is the only relative I think she has in the state. In this, she has an aunt that she is close to, that's in Kentucky.
So in the past 10 years, to your knowledge, has she mentioned whether or not they have a strong relationship?
Your Honor, I question the relevance of this line of questioning. I don't know what she's even trying to get to.
Your Honor, she called the witness. It's pretty clear the witness doesn't know much about her at all, and that's what this line of questioning is trying to get to.
I think it's relevant, so
Okay.
I will objection.
So, I know that she has Todd as a brother here. I know that she has mentioned that she speaks to him on the phone. I don't know what they talk about. I don't know I don't know what all goes in, what's involved in that relationship. I know that they have, he has come to the rescue, I understand, to pick up, you know, her older kids.
My question was, has she said anything to you in the past 10 years about whether they have a strong relationship?
She hasn't used those words, no.
Okay. You said that she confided in you about a lot of things, is that correct?
Yes.
Does she confide in you about her mental health issues?
I guess that, I know that, I don't know of her, I know that when she was married, she has confided into me that she had some issues. I didn't know she had any mental health issues. She sees a therapist, I know that. That's more of a counseling situation, I understand.
So she has told you that she sees a therapist.
Right.
Has she told you how often?
She probably has, I can't remember exactly, I'd say at least a couple times a month, I think.
John, and I'm not object to causing for her to speculate. She doesn't have any personal knowledge as to.
Well, she asked her, did she told her?
Yeah,
so
it's a regular visit, I don't know how often it happens.
Has she told you whether her seeing a therapist was of her own volition or if she was ordered to?
I was under the assumption that this is something she chose to do.
Has she told you that, or is that your
She told
assumption?
me, that's what I understand, that she does this on her own. I don't remember her saying, this was, I mean, it's hard for me to say that she said these exact words.
And if you don't know the answer, that's fine, I'm just
Right.
asking.
Somehow I am of the understanding that it is her idea to see this therapist. I don't know how she worded it to me, but that's my understanding.
And do you have any idea what this therapist is for? What kind of issue she's hoping to address?
I think that,
You're not an objection again to her speculating as to
Okay.
what she.
let me say that a different way then. She has told me that they talk about her relationship with her personal relationships with, I guess, Sanan, and maybe, let's see, and I think she has, okay, sorry, she has told me that she's discussed, good ways to handle situations. I don't know a particular one. I have never gotten the feeling that it was a mental health, I don't understand I don't understand the mental, health issue, but anyway.
So you don't know what specifically she's going there to address?
Not specifically, it was more of a generalization of my understanding.
To your knowledge, has Ms. Hubbell been engaged anytime in the past 3 years
Engaged.
to be married?
I don't know the time frame. There was someone that she talked to a few years ago, and maybe that's within 3 years, and I think I don't think there were really any plans to marry. I think that he
Your Honor,
might have
and
asked that. I think he did ask her.
Your Honor, and I'm gonna object to if she doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Your Honor, if I may respond, I have a reason for asking that.
Well, I think she doesn't know firsthand, so I'm just staying on that reason.
You said that you do think there was a gentleman she was talking to a few years ago?
Right. I don't even know if they saw each other from the grocery store is what that's who I'm thinking of. I don't know if there's anybody else or not. I don't know. It was very short-lived, whatever it was that I'm thinking of.
Do you know whether there was a lot of conflict in that relationship?
No,
No, you don't know?
I don't know. I do not know.
When Ms. Hubbell confided in you, has she confided about her physical health issues?
We have moved to a different topic. Let me stop right there. I apologize to all the parties. I have to be at a very important meeting at noon at Cane Ridge, so it's gonna take me this amount of time to get there. So unfortunately, Ms. McGee, what this means is I'm not gonna be able to finish your testimony today. That means you're gonna have to come back.
Does
Are
she-
you available to come back in the morning?
Tomorrow?
Yeah. If not, we have another day that we're planning. We can
Well, I
pick up your
mean-
testimony at that time.
I'm sure I could work that out,
All right.
if that's what I need to do.
Okay. I'm fine calling you out of stopping there, and because I recognize people have to work, and getting 2 days off when you're not at party on a case is a different issue. If you can come back, we'd take you up. You'd be the first witness. We'd start off with at 9 o'clock in the morning,
Okay.
and we'd hopefully get you out because I think she's gonna finish her question. She's got some question. It probably would not take more than 30 minutes.
Okay, well, I'm sure that I can make that work.
Okay. All right. We appreciate it. We will adjourn until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I will remind all parties that there should be absolutely no discussion of any of the testimony with anyone outside of the courtroom. There's not to be a discussion about what happened or what anybody said. There's absolutely to be no talk about the case, anything about the case, anything going on with the child whatsoever. She is not to know anything about court. And we will keep in place, at least till tomorrow, the current schedule of parenting time and visitation until we come back
The
tomorrow.
one you set on the 7th.
I'm sorry?
The one you set on the 7th, where he's got her Monday through Thursday, and
Whichever the last one that was set, that it will stay in effect until we get back tomorrow. All right, that'll be the court's order.
Thank you, Your Honor.